Hello, Lakers fans. Welcome to a Lakers Theory podcast. I am Shane Jackson. Join with me, as always, is Austin Case on this October 31st Halloween edition of a Lakers podcast where the Lakers won 95-85 just moments ago against the Houston Rockets. We'll get into some of our kind of key takeaways from that game. Actually, there's a whole lot to glean from, but we'll do our best. Austin wanted to do a podcast despite being in the central time zone and it being midnight there. Austin, tell me why you want to do a podcast and just how you spent your Halloween, because obviously you actually did things and had the cutest costume with your family ever. So let's get into that because that's way more important than the
game. This was a good game. They started strong, looked good. Wanted to podcast mainly because, well, they've won back-to-back games, and I feel like that deserves something at this point in the season. So, yeah.
So you're not going to tell us about your Halloween costume?
Oh, yeah. So
I set you up.
So Carter, my son Carter, he was a Toon Squad member from LeBron's movie of Space Jam. And my wife and I, we were Michael Jordan and Bill Murray of the Michael Jordan era Space Jam. So it was fun. It's a jersey that I can wear just for fun now. So, and then we went trick-or-treating and got a shitload of candy. So I'm excited.
Here's the photo. I pulled it up on Instagram. Literally the cutest thing ever. If you're watching this on YouTube at Lakers Theory, we go live after most games on YouTube, and that's how you find out, is by subscribing us on YouTube. But you can follow us on Facebook or Twitter as well. But yes, I wanted to start there because I thought that was adorable and deserves some love there. Yes, Halloween, it was a treat to kind of watch this Lakers game and Carmelo in particular, who had a really good game. We as Lakers fans got a treat of AD being at the 5 to start the game and Avery Bradley getting the starting lineup. But yeah, just overall a good basketball game. This was the fewest points the Lakers have allowed in a single game since the Heat against the Heat in 2019. And, obviously the Houston Rockets are bad. We can get into just how bad they are throughout this podcast. But I don't know. The defense was, I guess, it was reassuring to see good things from the defense tonight. And notably in the fourth quarter against the Cavs game, I thought they played much better then. So it's really been the last 5 quarters. How much of that will continue, I don't know. But we've been very hard on the Lakers defense in general this year, and rightfully so. So it was good to see at least positive moments. What do you think about the Lakers defense tonight, Austin?
It looked good. And that's kind of the first thing that I noticed about the way they were playing today, is just like they just seemed more with it on defense. And so I really hope this can stay, because that's what they're going to have to do to win basketball games. As we see, I mentioned they were pushing a 30-point lead, and then at some point it got down to 11. So I understand they're gonna give up some points, but it was good to kind of see them be able to close this game out and not have to fight for a win. I just thought they handled this game pretty well.
Yeah, I was a little annoyed as well that you didn't completely put them away, right? It got within 11, and LeBron, Russ didn't get to come out of the game until there was 90 seconds left. But they were up, in the 20s at one point, and it's one of those situations, and the Rockets went on some 21-4 run, and that's just one of those situations, if you were a little bit better, trying a little bit more, your key players can have ice on their knees with 3 minutes to go versus 90 seconds to go, or 4 minutes to go versus that. It was 26-point lead at one point, and then a kind of ridiculous Rockets run there. But yeah, I don't know if their defense is here to stay per se. Frank Vogel was kind of adamant just how bad they were defensively before the Cavs game, right? And they had a surprise or a rare film session after that loss to the Thunder because of it. And he was taking a lot of blame as well. We've praised Frank Vogel and his scheme for so long now. It was kind of good to see him maybe take some blame as well. And it wasn't just on maybe the roster construction and how he could be better. So I thought that was interesting. And then obviously you saw it kind of sort of pay dividends in that fourth quarter against the Cavs. And so maybe there are some things to glean from that side. But again, the Rockets are really bad. So I wanted to get into that part of it. I was trying to look up power rankings during this game, like who writes power rankings for the NBA and stuff like that, because again, this game was kind of a waste. The Rockets were not last. They were not even like top or bottom 2 or 3 on the rankings I saw. They are definitely the worst team in the NBA, right? And maybe one of the worst teams I've seen. This team was so bad tonight. And it's one of those definitely get right games for the Lakers defense because the Rockets just don't run anything. Not only are they super young, but they don't run any sort of like sets or anything. And it's so easy to fit all that into the floor when the Rockets do that. I mean, it was bad. And turnovers galore. How many turnovers did the Rockets end up with?
They 25.
Yeah, real bad. So I don't know. I've now seen the Thunder and the Rockets in the last week. I feel confident in saying the Rockets are worse than the Thunder.
Yeah. This was a bad game for the Rockets, and the final score doesn't really do justice to just kind of the type of game it was. But I would feel comfortable saying they are one of the bottom teams, if not the bottom team in the league.
And now the key is, so the Lakers will play them again in 2 days, right? And, the Rockets will obviously look different or do things differently than they did tonight. And maybe the Lakers don't take it as seriously because of what happened tonight. And so maybe, Tuesday's result is different, but it should still be a win nonetheless. And then they play the Thunder as well a couple days after that. Anything specific players-wise that stood out from this game? Obviously, Carmelo cooking early and often throughout this game. He finishes with 23 points on 8 of 14 shooting, 5 of 8 from long range and 25 minutes of action. It was incredible. Also finished with, he tied his career high in blocks with 4. He also finished with 2 steals. It's the first time he's done both 4 blocks and 2 steals in a game since his rookie year against LeBron James. That was a stat the Lakers PR tweeted out and through reporters on the timeline late in that game. So just incredible game for Carmelo Anthony, who Staples' version of Carmelo Anthony might be better than Hoodie Melo.
Melo just, right into the game. He was ready. It was time. So I don't know. There really wasn't anybody outside of Carmelo that was eye-popping. It was a fairly low-scoring game. 95 points. So, they didn't do a lot of scoring. But I will say Russell Westbrook's 9 for 22. That's not ideal. They won, so I don't think it's a big deal. But had this game been on the line or something, then that might have more of a factor into the game.
Yeah, I actually thought, Russ down the stretch was like the only player who brought energy, other than maybe like Austin Reeves, obviously, also because he always brings energy. But it felt like Russ at one point was going to have to be the guy who was like, "Okay, guys, let's put this team away." It didn't really actually get that close down the stretch, but I really thought for a minute there I was like, "Oh, we're gonna have Russ take over time," because literally no one else is doing anything. I actually didn't think Anthony Davis was all that great tonight. It was 16 points on 7 of 17 shooting. He finished with 13 rebounds and a block, but I don't know. It just, of the, what is it now, 7 games we've seen of the Lakers, this might have been his worst game, I thought. And maybe I'm misremembering one game or two, but I didn't really like what I saw from AD, and obviously it didn't matter.
That's a fairly mediocre night. I don't know. It seemed like he was having a hard time getting going. Then obviously he settles for mid-range jump shots a lot, so that doesn't help.
Yeah. And then LeBron's reverse dunk, right? That was incredible, and it was one of those moments. And so I tweeted that out from the Lakers Theory account as well. He still does things in his 19th year where I actually shout or gasp to myself. It's incredible. I did not expect him to, get down the court that quickly and throw it down like that. That was awesome. Was that one of your more favorite plays of the night?
Yeah, it was, and I mean, the dunk was incredible, but I feel like the setup pass by DJ
Hmm.
was equally impressive. So I mean, there wasn't really a big window to play with between Braun and the defender, and I mean that ball just it was a perfect pass, honestly, and it set it up great.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think getting into the touch pass was a good call there by you. It was the first time we saw a new starting lineup, the one that we haven't seen before. It was 80 at the five. Avery Bradley was in the rotation. I remember I asked you to give me a guess before the game because you hadn't seen the starting lineup. I was like, who do you think is now in the starting lineup? And you thought Austin Reeves. I thought that was a fair
Hmm.
guess based off how he played in that Cavaliers game. But it was actually Avery Bradley who played even better in that Cavs game, who got the start. What do you think of maybe the new lineup tonight and how they began the game? Because really the Lakers have struggled out of the gate this
Hmm.
season, and I don't think that was the case tonight. Was it due to the starting lineup?
That's a fair point. Like, I mean, with DJ not starting, like that lineup is just incredibly more athletic, and so
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's easier for them to just get out and run and kind of know you have, there's going to be dudes running with you. Um, but yeah, I liked it. I feel like the Lakers are a much better team when AD is playing the five, and yeah, I mean they came out and started strong, so I don't see why this isn't a lineup where they can use down the road. Hopefully, more continuously.
Yeah, Dwight Howard being out tonight. I mean, do you think they would have started him instead of DJ instead, and maybe that would have been the five, and Avery Bradley probably doesn't start? Is that your understanding maybe of how it probably would have worked out?
I think so. Like I feel like they realize that DJ's purpose on this team isn't all that clear.
Hmm.
I feel like he played well tonight, but I mean maybe that's what he needs. He played 17 minutes tonight, and he was a +3 in the plus minus.
Yeah.
So, um, but yeah, I always thought that Dwight Howard might make more sense to start and have
Hmm.
DJ come off the bench. So, um, yeah, I would feel like that Dwight was probably in line to start, and then they just made a late decision to throw this lineup out there, and I thought it worked out well.
Yeah, we've been, clamoring a while, as most of Lakers fans have as well, for AD to play at the five. And I think you've seen more AD to five in terms of roster and minutes and on the floor this year than maybe previous year, definitely last year. But he just hasn't started. And so I don't know how important it is for him to necessarily start at the five. It was nice to see tonight, but the way he has, gathered minutes at the five, I think is fine. And so I
Mhm.
don't know. It'll be interesting to see if Dwight Howard is healthy, how they start moving forward. I don't know when Dwight Howard would be coming back. So yeah, it remains to be seen. But I liked the lineup. I just liked Avery Bradley getting the start. That to me,
Mhm.
like rewarding a guy for how he played the last time out, and really just kind of setting the tone defensively. Like Avery Bradley and Kent Bazemore, the way they try on that end is just,
Mhm.
I don't know. It's heartwarming almost. Like in a year where we've kind of been hard on the defense so far, it's nice to see the combination of those two on the floor together and early. So I don't know. I like that from that point of view.
Yeah,
Anything? Oh, sorry. Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. No, I was just gonna say I liked Bradley in the
Mm-hmm.
starting lineup. I think he brings, out of the guys that they could choose from to throw in there, I feel like he's probably the better one to bring it defensively, and that might be something that they are trying to figure out.
Yeah.
And that's something clear that we know they need to kind of keep working on. So that could be part of this. But yeah, he was a -5 and plus minus. I feel like that's a little unfair because I feel his defensive efforts tonight were probably more just better than what's being reflected.
Yeah. We as you mentioned haven't recorded since the Cavs game. Anything from the Cavs game that stood out to you that is worth mentioning now at the end of the show?
Um, I don't know. It was good to see Carmelo kind of be a great 6-man of the year candidate, in my opinion.
That's true. Yeah, you messaged that to me early on tonight. Explain the case for Carmelo to win 6-man of the year. Right now, it looks like Tyler Hero has the early lead. Just tell me why you think Carmelo is a legit candidate.
I think he was on the list for last year. And so I just kind of, when I said that, I had that in mind where I'm just like, if he's putting up, 20 plus points, and I mean, having game changing effects for that night, like, why not? Like, I feel like that's a great reason to be 6-man of the year.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's way too early in the season for me to actually have a strong opinion on that, but I liked you building the case for it already. It feels like, if the Lakers do have success this year, they will have to win some sort of award. It may not, unfortunately, be AD to win the MVP at this point, which is what I had to bet on, but we shall see. I think that will pretty much cover it for this show. I kind of mentioned that I like the defense out there in the fourth quarter in the Cleveland Cavaliers game. That's pretty much all that stood out to me. Especially during the fourth quarter. They had a couple of really good sets offensively, but that was it. The Lakers play the Rockets again. Sadly, they can't play the Rockets 82 times this year. I don't know why the league didn't just let that happen, because tonight was really easy and stress-free, which is rare so far this season for Lakers fans. That's going to do it for this edition of the Lakers Theory podcast. We'll be back sometime after the next game. Maybe not the next Rockets game, but who knows? Depends on what Austin says, because he calls the shots there. He's Austin Case. I'm Shane Jackson. Thank you so much for listening to a Lakers Theory podcast, and see you next time, Lakers fans.